You two camping, huh? Perhaps due to the speakerphone. Catherine's hearty laughter echoed within the airport. I was in shock. And even now, I feel like I might faint. Mom, are you okay? Mia's words brought me back to my senses. And Mia, my daughter, once turned off the speaker on my smartphone. And then she said to me, maybe that guy needs some punishment. While Mia's face wore a smile, her eyes weren't laughing at all. They were serious. I believe those eyes. So I switched the speakerphone back on and said this to Catherine. Understood. We're coming back. My name is Ashley Miller, 46 years old. I'm currently working part-time as a cashier at a supermarket. My husband, Bob, and I have been classmates since high school, in the same class for 3 years. We attended different universities, but we coincidentally reunited at a high school classmates gathering. There, it turned out that we were both interested in each other during our student days, and we hit it off from there. Then, at the age of 26, we got married, and 3 years later, our daughter Mia was born. We were trying for a second child as well, but I developed ovarian disease, rendering me unable to conceive. However, Bob never blamed me. He actually showered me with kind words. We'll make sure to raise Mia well in return. We made that promise together. As our daughter Mia grew up healthy and strong, her middle school years were quite challenging. When Mia was in her second year of middle school, she reported incidents of bullying happening in her class to her teacher. However, she wasn't satisfied with the teacher's lack of action in addressing the bullying and took matters into her own hands to address the teacher's behavior. While it didn't escalate to involve the police, this incident led to Mia receiving a suspension from school. I was just trying to protect a child who was being bullied. Mia exclaimed that, unwilling to talk much about it. Eventually, her suspension was lifted, but Mia still chose not to attend school and stayed at home. Seeing her in this state, Bob spoke to her. Is it right to continue living with regret like this? I'm frustrated. But what can I do? Mia replied tearfully. In response, Bob actively participated in PTA meetings, raising the issue of bullying in Mia's class multiple times. The PTA recognized the seriousness of the situation and took action. They successfully led to the dismissal of the teacher, as well as the principal and vice principal. By the time Mia entered her third year of middle school, she started attending school again and eventually moved on to high school. This incident prompted Bob to commit to fully engaging with the family. Mia is a member of the high school handball club, and she is aiming to participate in the inter-high tournament. Although her academic performance is average, her French grades are quite impressive. Despite not having received French language lessons since childhood, it seems her middle school French teacher provided excellent guidance. Even during her suspension and time spent shut in at home, Mia continued to study French, resulting in her having a solid grasp of high school level French by the time she graduated from middle school. She holds a certification equivalent to level 2 in French proficiency, and she plans to take the level 1 exam in the future. Mia also took the French exam and scored an impressive points. Her proficiency in French is evident as she actively participates in French speech contests. Although her middle school years were tumultuous, Mia is now diligent in attending high school and even helps with household chores when she comes back home. Since part-time jobs are prohibited by school rules, she receives an allowance. She uses that allowance to save up and occasionally gifts us with the latest kitchen gadgets. As Bob often deals with desk work, she even gifted him a lumbar cushion, showing how considerate she has become. Despite the challenges, I'm proud that Mia has grown into a responsible young woman. I deeply love both Bob and Mia, but there's one person in Bob's family who I find a bit challenging to deal with. that person is. Hello, Ashley. Are you still living with Bob? Even though you can't get pregnant anymore, you seem to be managing your married life quite well. This sudden outburst of offensive remarks came from Bob's mother, Catherine, who is a person I dislike. Catherine used to be a very kind person before I got married, but after our marriage, she became more and more critical, often targeting me with hurtful words. Initially, it was just about household chores, and I could let it slide. But gradually, she started commenting on various aspects of my personal life. And now, since I can't conceive, she's suggesting divorce right away. I've blamed myself countless times for my inability to get pregnant, but each time, I was comforted by Bob and Mia. However, hearing it directly that I can't conceive is still painful. I gave her a smile, and Catherine continued with her words. Alternatively, even if you don't divorce, you could consider living together. That way, you can see Bob's face anytime. Catherine is excessively doting on Bob. She goes as far as delivering his lunch to his workplace and picking him up without even being asked. This behavior has led to rumors of Bob being a mama's boy at work, and it seems Bob is quite troubled by it as well. I try to explain. Bob also has his own thoughts about this, but Catherine stared at me and said, "Well then, why don't you ask Bob to live together?" Her words triggered a sensitive response in me. Well, that's not really. What's wrong? What's the problem with living with me? Do you have a reason you can't? In my mind, I thought living with you would just make the bullying worse. But saying that would likely worsen the situation and invite even more criticism. As I struggled to respond, "I'm Mo, Granny, you're here." Mia arrived just in time. Catherine suddenly seemed to shrink. "Well, I guess I should be going." "All right, Ashley, have a good talk with Bob." With those words, Catherine left. Seeing her leave, Mia let out a sigh and said to me, "It looks like Granny had something to say to you again." As I thought, you can see through it. Whenever Mia sees Catherine, she always gets scared and runs away. This is partly because Mia avoids Catherine, but also because Catherine has witnessed Mia's rebellious behavior in the past, leading to lingering discomfort around her. You probably shouldn't take Granny's words to heart too much. Every time Catherine says something hurtful, Mia says things like this to me. Just that alone is really appreciated. And then, with a smile on her face, Mia made an announcement to me. More importantly, I actually passed the level 1 French proficiency test. Wow, congratulations! I knew about Mia's high French proficiency, but I also know that achieving level 1 on the French proficiency test is a level that even college students find challenging to obtain. It's because Mia, a high school senior, can easily pass it, thanks to consistently studying French. Without delay, I bought celebratory dishes and a cake from a nearby bakery to prepare for the celebration at night. While making preparations, Bob returned home. When Mia told Bob about her success in passing the level 1 French proficiency test, he couldn't help but shower her with praise. And during dinner, they celebrated Mia's accomplishment once again. Furthermore, Bob had some exciting news to share. Actually, I have something great to share as well. I've been promoted to a higher position. Congratulations, Dad, that's amazing. Bob had been serving as a department head for a long time, and he finally achieved his dream of becoming the general manager. I thought that the joyous news from both Bob and Mia would help me forget the words Catherine had said. Then, Mia came up with this. "But you know, if Mom finds out about Dad's promotion, she might ostracize Mom and start planning trips or something." I was worried about that too. What if Catherine did something like that? "What's wrong, Ashley?" Bob asked when he saw the worried look on my face. I told Bob about what had happened today when Catherine visited our home and said hurtful things. Bob's expression turned to one of exasperation. Seriously, what's Mom doing? Mia sighed as well. It's really frustrating. It's a good thing I came home early, but Mom is causing her unnecessary stress. Catherine's outbursts were causing our family a lot of distress. On a certain day, I was looking at a travel magazine. The truth is, I ended up planning a trip abroad for a specific reason. Thankfully, Bob also managed to get time off, so the three of us decided to go overseas. The destination is Paris. While I was searching for famous tourist spots in Paris, Ashley, what are you looking up? Huh? Why? I was surprised to find Catherine in my house. I couldn't believe she just walked in without ringing the doorbell. With a smug grin, Catherine said, "What's the big deal? I'm Bob's mother after all. It's fine for me to enter the house." I wish she had at least rung the doorbell. Oblivious to my thoughts, Catherine was looking at a website about tourist spots in Paris that I had been checking out. Then, she smirked and said to me, "Are you guys thinking about going to Paris together?" I was taken aback, but I thought hiding it would be pointless, so I admitted, "Yes, we're planning to go to Paris as a family during the summer vacation." She seemed lost in thought for a while. I had a bad feeling, and unfortunately, my intuition was correct. "Well then, your father and I will join you too." Huh? But it's not just a leisure trip. I was about to explain the reason for our Paris trip to Catherine. But hey, you guys going to a foreign country without us is unfair. You better take us with you. I won't leave until you agree to take us. Once Catherine got started, there was no stopping her. Well then, let's all go together. With no other choice, I had to give in and say that. That night, I informed Bob and Mia about Catherine wanting to go to Paris as well, and how I couldn't refuse. Of course, they were both annoyed and exclaimed, "Seriously? Well, you know how Mom is. She'll keep insisting until she gets her way." But does she even understand our reasons for going to Paris? I don't think she does. I tried to explain, but she just kept voicing her opinions. We had a bad feeling about this. In the end, on the day of the trip, Catherine even managed to convince Bob to take her along. She said things like, "Since your dad is coming, I'm going too." She also mentioned wanting to buy 2 plane tickets and places she wanted to visit in Paris. Bob thought for a moment and then said to everyone, "For now, let's wait and see. She might actually do something helpful over there. And besides, I'll let Dad know about this." We decided to closely monitor Catherine's actions. There was a possibility that she might try to cause trouble during the Paris trip, so our family strategy was to let her swim with the tide. 2 weeks before the Paris trip, we told Catherine the meeting time at the airport. We informed her that the flight was in the afternoon. Catherine was complaining, "Isn't that too late?" She seemed dissatisfied. Additionally, whenever we explained the plan step by step, she would often grumble, "This is so bothersome." I was getting frustrated, but I continued explaining the details of the trip. When I started describing the hotel, Catherine suddenly became really excited. "Wait, this hotel? Isn't it the one favored by Hollywood stars?" This time, we were staying at an ultra-luxurious hotel, a place where Hollywood stars and famous celebrities often stayed. Of course, it wasn't easy to make a reservation there. We had a specific reason that allowed us to secure a booking. Since it was our hotel for this trip, we inquired if it would be possible to accommodate more people. If there are more people, it's perfectly fine. The more, the merrier. Upon hearing that, we managed to secure the reservation somehow. Of course, we were given thorough instructions for situations where that person wasn't present, but I reassured them that everything would be fine since we would be together as a family. Looks like Ashley can be useful sometimes, even though she's usually just a handful, Catherine remarked with a smirk. I wanted to retort that it was the other way around, but I just chuckled awkwardly. And so, after the discussion was over, I handed the plane tickets to Catherine. "Make sure you don't be late." Catherine responded with a smirk, saying, "I've got it under control." I wondered if she really understood. 1 week before our trip to Paris, I was hit with an unexpected bombshell from Bob. He told me that Catherine had been informed to stay at her parents' house the day before the trip. Moreover, Ashley and Mia didn't have to stay together either. Even at this point, I couldn't shake off my uneasy feeling. Bob went on to suggest that perhaps Catherine might try to bother me and Mia. He offered a contingency plan just in case. I had a gut feeling that Catherine might have something up her sleeve on the day of our Paris trip. And so, on the day of our trip to Paris, since Bob had stayed overnight at his parents' house, only Mia and I were at home. I thought we'd still manage to make it to the airport on time. However, something happened during the taxi ride. Oh no, I can't find my wallet. Are you kidding me? Wait, can we cover the fare? Well, I do have my smartphone, so I can use mobile payment. It should be okay. This is odd. I'm sure my wallet was in my bag just 3 days ago. Come to think of it, Catherine visited the next day. Could it be that I had a sinking feeling that my bad premonition might be coming true. Inside that wallet were my credit cards. The thought of them being misused made me anxious. When I arrived at the airport and paid the taxi fare using my smartphone, I reached the meeting point. It was close to the promised time, but I couldn't see Catherine and the other anywhere. I tried calling, but it didn't connect, probably because her phone was turned off. With the flight time approaching, it was becoming a concern that Catherine and the others hadn't shown up. Then my mobile phone rang. It was Catherine on the other end. "Hey Ashley, where are you? It's almost time for the flight." I panicked and said that. But what Catherine said next was beyond belief. "Huh? We're already in Paris." I responded with a confused huh, as I didn't understand what she meant. Catherine continued, "So yay, we're already in Paris. It was a long trip, so I'm tired, lol." And then she added something even more shocking. "By the way, I took your wallet too. With the credit cards, it's convenient for shopping." I realized that it was indeed Catherine who took my wallet, just as I had expected. She had played a nasty trick on me. No, this time it wasn't just me. Mia was also a victim. "You guys should try camping or something, lol." Perhaps due to the speakerphone setting, I could hear Catherine's loud laughter echoing in the airport. I was in shock, feeling like I might faint any moment. However, Mia's words, "Are you okay, Mom?" snapped me back to reality. Mia took my phone, turned off the speaker, and she said to me, "Maybe that person needs some punishment." Mia had a smile on her face, but her eyes were serious, with an intent gaze. I trusted that look and switched the speakerphone back on, addressing Catherine. "All right, we're going back." I said that and turned off the phone. And I said to Mia, "Most likely, things are going to get tough for her over there." Excitedly, Mia responded, "Without Mom and me, the trip will probably become a mess." So we decided to head straight back home and wait to hear how things unfolded. The next day, while Mia and I were playing games, we heard voices from the front door saying, "We're home," and "Hello there." Entering the living room were Bob and Daniel, his father. "Ashley, Mia, long time no see, and I'm sorry for all the trouble Catherine has caused." Though Daniel apologized, Bob chimed in, "Dad doesn't need to apologize. Mom's the one who's at fault." Seeing this, Mia, with an amused expression, joined the conversation. "But seriously, Grandma's probably in big trouble right now." Hearing the discussion, Bob turned to me to confirm. "You did cancel the credit cards, right?" "Yeah, I canceled the credit cards when I got back home, so it should be fine." After being stranded at the airport, Mia and I took precautions once we were back home. We deactivated the credit cards that were in the wallet, and just to be safe, We also changed the PIN for the debit card. Now, Catherine couldn't freely use my money. But still, is Catherine really okay? Daniel expressed concern, but Bob responded with a smile. She's been hurting Ashley for a while now. She might need a taste of her own medicine. Mia and I nodded in agreement with Bob's opinion. I had endured Catherine's harassment for a long time. It was time to give her the punishment she deserved. That day, Daniel decided to stay over at our house. Catherine would likely return by tomorrow at the latest, and there was a high possibility she'd show up at our doorstep. In preparation for that, we had various discussions, and during those discussions, Daniel came to a decision, and the next day arrived. Catherine came to the house without ringing the doorbell. We finally braced ourselves for her arrival. When Catherine entered the living room, she looked completely disheveled. As soon as she came in, she approached me and said, "Hold on, what's going on here? Why couldn't you stay at the hotel? And that's not all. Why couldn't you use your credit cards? Thanks to you, things got really tough for me." Next, glaring at Bob and Daniel, Catherine continued, "And you too. Why did you just up and leave the country? I won't let you off the hook for leaving me behind for the time being." I pretended not to know and asked Catherine if something had happened. "What exactly happened? We won't understand if you don't explain, Catherine." Catherine was glaring at me, but her expression looked even more ridiculous, making me want to laugh. "It's all your fault. I had to go through a lot because of you." Catherine went on to explain what had happened to her. It was a few hours after she left me at the airport. It seemed like she had lied to Bob and Daniel, saying that we would meet up later. Sightseeing was postponed to the next day, and Catherine headed to the hotel to stay with Bob and Daniel. When she reached the reception, she confidently told the staff, "I'm staying here today under the name Miller." However, the receptionist gave Catherine and the others a puzzled look and said, "I'm sorry, but it seems your daughter isn't with you. What happened?" Catherine seemed to feel something was off, but she gave an explanation anyway. "So, I had something urgent come up. I'll join you guys later. But for now, I've made a reservation at this hotel, so it should be fine, right?" Upon hearing this, the receptionist responded coldly to Catherine, who was grinning. "I'm sorry, but without Miss Mia Miller, the reservation for this hotel is invalid." Catherine was confused and confronted the receptionist. "What's that supposed to mean? I never heard about this." "What do you mean I can't make a reservation without Mia?" The receptionist remained composed in the face of Catherine's aggression and calmly explained, "This hotel is reserved for participants and their families attending a debate competition. However, if the participant, Miss Mia, is not present, then the reservation cannot stand. Please leave." Catherine retorted, "Are you kidding me? I didn't hear anything about that." But the receptionist continued to placate her calmly. Catherine, thinking it was pointless to argue further, let out an audible click of her tongue in frustration. Observing this from a distance, Bob and Daniel sighed and spoke as follows. "Just as we thought. We knew that we wouldn't be able to stay without Mia. But if things continue like this, I won't be able to stay either." "Relax, Dad. I've got something prepared for times like this." Saying so, Bob handed over plane tickets to Daniel. This was a strategy Bob had thought of. Anticipating this scenario, he had purchased plane tickets to the US in advance. This way, it's possible to leave Paris within the same day. With Catherine engrossed in her argument with the hotel receptionist, Bob and Daniel called a taxi, headed to the airport, and were able to return to the US. Catherine, still grumbling to herself, finally left the receptionist's desk. "Wait, you, Bob, where did you guys go?" Absorbed in the heated discussion, Catherine hadn't noticed that Bob and Daniel were no longer there. Trying to contact them, she realized that Bob and Daniel were already on the plane, making it impossible to reach them. Planned for a 2-night, 3-day stay in Paris, Catherine was left wandering the streets of Paris for 3 days, even though she could have gone to the airport, where she could have taken a flight back to the US. She never even considered that option. Instead, she tried to find an available hotel, but all the city hotels were fully booked, leaving her with nowhere to stay. Furthermore, while having dinner at a restaurant because she was hungry, Catherine realized something when it was time to pay the bill. "Excuse me, but this card isn't working. You've got to be kidding me." It seems like Catherine tried to use my credit card, but since I had already reported it as lost, she couldn't use it. She had no choice but to use her own credit card. But the restaurant they went to was quite expensive, so her credit card's limit was almost reached. On top of that, she didn't have much cash in euro bills, so she was left with very little money. In this way, Catherine found herself in a situation with hardly any money. But another tragedy unfolded. Although she managed to find a budget hotel, she discovered that the only available option was a shared room. As a result, Catherine had to stay in that shared room with other people, and those individuals turned out to be quite disruptive. While Catherine was trying to sleep, they were causing a ruckus. Catherine tried to warn them in broken French, but they completely disregarded her. Furthermore, even though there were clearly other guests and hotel staff present, no one bothered to address the disturbance they were causing. Later, she discovered that the hotel she stayed in was known for rowdy post-drinking gatherings, and all the rooms were filled with noisy people. To make matters worse, the hotel staff seemed to tolerate this behavior. Unable to get any sleep in such an environment, Catherine had a sleepless night. The next day, she left the hotel, took a taxi to the airport with whatever money she had left, and she ended up falling asleep on an airport sofa due to extreme fatigue. Unfortunately, this turned out to be a mistake. When Catherine woke up, it was just a few hours before the scheduled departure of the flight she had booked. She tried to check the time on her smartphone, but realized something. My wallet is missing. To her astonishment, Catherine's wallet had disappeared. My wallet had been placed in a convenient bag, which she had been using as a pillow substitute. However, Catherine had put her bag in the tote bag, making her wallet susceptible to theft. Fortunately, her tickets and passport were in the same bag as my wallet, so they were safe. Nevertheless, a bizarre incident occurred where only her wallet was stolen. She informed a nearby employee that her wallet was missing, but since Catherine could hardly speak French, conveying the situation was a challenge in itself. Eventually, when the message got across, it was already close to the departure time of the flight. As a result, she had no choice but to return home in disappointment. Once back in Japan, she went straight to my house. After hearing Catherine's story, the entire family burst into laughter. Well, that's natural. Catherine, who had been having a blast, was now encountering such a series of misfortunes, so all they could do was laugh. Of course, Catherine was angry. "What's so funny about this situation?" I said this while holding back laughter. "But you know, I never expected things to go so wrong like this. What's wrong with you all? What's the matter with me going to Paris? I never imagined something like this would happen." While stifling laughter, I responded, "Well, we didn't really go to Paris for leisure, you see." "Liar, you were secretly planning to go to Paris without telling me." Despite Catherine's protests, I continued to explain. "Catherine, I think the receptionist also mentioned it, but Mia was planning to participate in a debate competition held at a hotel in Paris. She was supposed to represent the US in the international event, where students from various countries would share their thoughts and opinions. The truth was that the reason our family had decided to go to Paris was that Mia had become the U.S. representative for a debate competition. The event aimed to present to an overseas audience and share her views, giving insight into the thoughts of students from different countries. The competition was being held at that hotel, and only the participant herself and her family could stay at that hotel. However, at the last minute, 2 more people were joining, so we asked the hotel staff for a favor. Surprisingly, the hotel agreed, but there was a condition: Mia had to come along. We signed an agreement that if she didn't, the reservation would be canceled. Someone from the organizing committee contacted me, asking why I didn't participate this time. I explained the whole situation, but they might charge us a cancellation fee for the hotel. Probably. When Mia said this, Catherine became even angrier. This is not a joke. There's no way I can afford the cost of such a luxurious hotel because you all didn't explain properly. You should pay the fee. Then, Bob joined the conversation. Mom, seriously, enough is enough. Ashley tried her best to explain, but you weren't listening at all. It's all your own doing. Bob, who Catherine adores, said this to Catherine, leaving Catherine shocked and hurt. Furthermore, Bob continued, "And Mom, you stole Ashley's wallet, didn't you? We're going to report it to the police. By the way, you might be thinking it falls under family theft, but Granny is not included in that category, so she can be treated as a regular criminal case." With the additional information provided by Mia, even Catherine, who usually remained composed, was feeling anxious, concerned about getting caught by the police. Catherine fell to her knees and begged for forgiveness. "Please, spare me from the police. I'm begging you." However, such words weren't going to earn her any leniency. I glared at Catherine and unleashed everything that had been building up within me, as if I were spewing out all the pent-up feelings. "Don't act all innocent. We've endured your hurtful words and actions for so long. You've constantly reminded me that I couldn't get pregnant due to my illness. I didn't choose to be sick, and I bet you were hoping for a boy just because you wanted an heir, right? I'm sorry I couldn't fulfill that expectation, but regardless, I love Bob, no matter what anyone says, and I have no intention of getting a divorce. And Mia, who grew up despite the struggles of raising her, is a precious part of our family. You, who are ruining our family's happiness, are nothing but a nuisance just by being here." I angrily vented my dissatisfaction towards Catherine without stopping, and as I started to come back to my senses, I suddenly felt embarrassed. Seeing this, both Bob and Mia were moved, which made me even more embarrassed. Since I'm not usually one to get angry, this side of me surprised Catherine, causing her to become fearful. Daniel, who had been observing our interaction, spoke up quietly. "I heard from Bob that you've been giving Ashley a hard time, but I never expected it to escalate to this extent, and causing such a big trouble too." After taking a deep breath, Daniel addressed Catherine again. "For now, it's best to leave things here and have a thorough discussion after you go back home." At this point, Catherine was already in a state of shock. Daniel apologized to us once again and took Catherine away, leaving the situation behind. Afterwards, of course, Daniel and Catherine got divorced. I filed a theft report for my stolen wallet. Since it was my first offense, I was released soon after, but I decided to take legal action against the theft incident and the ongoing harassment from Catherine. As a result, Catherine had to pay compensation for that. Of course, she also had to cover the cancellation fee for the hotel. Catherine didn't have that kind of money, so Daniel decided to cover the cost. I received a message from Catherine asking for money, but I simply replied with "You brought this upon yourself," and blocked all contact. Currently, she is working part-time to pay back the money Daniel covered. But it seems that her troublesome personality is still causing issues even at her workplace. So nobody is really dealing with her anymore. Well, she's consistently paying the compensation every month, so I can't really complain about that. On the other hand, we decided to move to a place near Daniel's family home now that he's alone. Once divorced, Daniel's personality has become much brighter. I think he must have been tired from dealing with Catherine's constant criticism. As for Mia, who couldn't participate in the speech competition, she managed to join through an online platform. According to her, she achieved good results. It became a turning point that improved our family relationships. Now, regardless of events, we're planning a family trip abroad. I want to continue living happily with my beloved family from now on.